All right, fantastic. And we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome. So
Hi
nice to
everyone,
see you
welcome.
here. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you so much, folks, for making the time to join us today. We're going to get started momentarily, just waiting for more people to come on in. Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. Hope everyone's having a great day. We're going to get started in just a hot second. While we wait, just to make sure that everything is working properly. Hi, Daniela. Can everyone just quickly jump into the chat and just say a little hello and let us know where you're joining from? Maybe a city or a country, just to see where you're at. We are calling from Romania, currently going through the heat wave, trying to manage.
Okay, from
Oh,
Dubai.
from
Nice. We
Wow.
have folks from
Dubai.
Dubai, from Munich. Fantastic. More folks from Romania, Singapore, South Africa. Wow, that's quite a
Denmark,
spread. Denmark, Georgia, very nice.
Nice.
Latvia.
Latvia,
Quite
so great to
diverse.
have you, everyone. I'm just going to allow about a half a minute to a minute to allow others to come on in. I'm sure there's a lot of people still looking for that link. Hopefully, you're all doing well. Oh, Pittsburgh, USA. Hello, Peter. Long way out. Just the day's just starting for you. Thank you so much for carving out the time to join us. Now, folks from India, nearing towards the end of the day in that part of the world, really nice. Awesome. So I think we are good. We're just going to wait a little longer to allow people to join us in, and then we're going to get started. We have a lot of ground to cover today. And just as we wait for people to join in, just want to say thank you for the immense interest. Like we never imagined so many people to be interested in the topic. Since it's sort of the first time we're running this sort of event. We're maybe expecting 50, 60 people to sign up, or more than 200 registrations. And even today, we're still getting people registering. So we're really excited about that and open to sharing what we've been cooking here in a little kitchen. So thank you so much. All right, there's more people coming in. And I believe we are in a good spot to kick off everything today. Before I go through intros and everything, I just want to say another hello for those of you who just joined and go through a couple of housekeeping items just for you to be aware of as we kick things off. We expect this session to take around 45 minutes, and also we have 15 minutes dedicated for Q&A towards the end. We're also happy to stay a little bit over time if needed, if we do have a big influx of questions coming through. What we kindly ask you to do as we're going through the first part, we will kindly ask you if you have any questions, just to write them down in the chat, and we're going to collect them and answer them at the end. Or if you prefer, we can wait until the Q&A section starts to drop your questions. The call will be recorded. You've probably noticed this when you joined the call. We're going to be recording this. We're going to be sending you the recording for review. So not to worry on that front. You're going to get a follow-up email with the details and the recording. So without out of the way, I would like us to kick us off. I'm going to take over the screen and start sharing. And we're going to talk about going from idea to prototype without Figma. So let's get this rolling. See, the chat is working because I had some, I saw some nice reactions there and some messages. Thanks for joining again. And let us kick off. Can I get a quick yes in the chat just to make sure that everyone can see the screen? All right. Perfect. Awesome. So let me set a little bit of a tone for today's conversation. Obviously, you've read the title, we've read the description. We're going to talk about how organizations, and we're talking here about designers, product managers, engineers, can easily go from idea to prototype in a more effective way than they are today without the use of tools like Figma. And our ultimate goal for the session today is to show you how we see this entire workflow being reshaped by AI and by all of these tools that are made available to us. And at the very least, if you leave today's session inspired to go ahead and try this out by yourself, or to go a little bit deeper into the topic, I feel we have achieved our goal. So make sure to, of course, keep in mind the questions that you have, and we're going to get to them. So a quick round of introductions. Hi, everyone. My name is Raz. I'm the guy who's been babbling since the moment you joined the call today. I am a UX and product designer, and for the last 12 years, this is all I've been doing, helping organizations understand their customers, devise good user experiences and help bridge the gap between user needs and business goals with the help of design. Really great to be here with you today.
Hi, everyone. This is Anna, currently leading all things product strategy at JustMed. I've been working in product for the past almost 12 years now, essentially helping companies either grow existing products or bring new ones to the market. My specialty is helping product teams to tell stories with data. I'm super excited to be here, super excited about what we're about to present, and I'm going to hand it over to Raz for the next part of the presentation.
Okay, you notice we have two more people in the call as hosted. We're going to get to them in just a second, but before we do that, I just want to say a couple of words about JustMed. JustMed is the company that me and Anna founded about 7 years ago, and we like to describe ourselves like this intervention unit for strategy, growth, and UX. Just a couple of words here, so you know what kind of background we're coming in with. We essentially work with various organizations, mostly B2B SaaS companies, but not exclusively, and help them in 3 different ways. We help with strategy, kind of figuring out where they should go next, how can they deliver better value to the market. We also supplement that with design work, as you could probably figure out already, doing prototyping, creating high-fidelity designs, and everything that comes with that. And then lastly, we are huge fans of workshops, and facilitation is sort of our in-house specialty. We love running workshops and focused work sessions to help achieve organization's goals. And this is who we are in a nutshell. And over these last few years, we've managed to deliver some really great projects with some amazing companies. Just a handful of them here. You've probably heard about them or know about their product. And these are actually companies that taught us so much about our process and about our workflows that allowed us to get to where we are today. And we want to relay some of the learnings that we've got by working with companies such as these ones. And with that, I actually want to hand this over to my good friends, Vlad and Bogdan, to introduce themselves as well.
Hey, everyone.
Over to you guys.
My name is Vlad. I am a software developer. And I think I'm a software developer because in 2004, I built a website in Photoshop and I couldn't click the buttons. So basically, most of my career has been staying right there in between the design and the development side of things. I have a background in engineering, but the topic today is very close to my heart. So I'm super excited to be here and to see what questions and feedback you guys have. And in the recent years, I spent most of my time configuring and extending AI agents, Cloud Code, Codex, and so on together with Bogdan. And I'll hand this over to Bogdan now.
Thank you, Vlad. Hi, everybody. My name is Bogdan. I've been working as a software developer for over 10 years now. Throughout my career, I've been working with a wide variety of projects across industries like video streaming, automotive, e-commerce, and sports. I've had the pleasure of meeting incredible people along the way and working with amazing clients and teams. And as you can see in the current slide, it says there Agentric.pro. Basically, me and Vlad in February this year co-founded Agentric Pro. Basically, we partner with companies looking to automate repetitive tasks, and we deliver them solutions that saves both time and money. So if you'd like to learn more about what we do, the link to our website is right here on the slide. And yeah, thank you, Raz. I guess you can take over now.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. And I just want to say, like, we've known Vlad and Bogdan for such a long time, but they have been an instrumental part of getting the sort of setup that we're going to be talking about today and getting something like this out into the world. Me as a product designer and as a product manager and strategist, we of course understand like technical concepts, but these two guys have really been sort of the soul of the engineering heart of what we're about to show you today. So we're really glad to have them on the call as well and collaborate with us on this one. So I'm going to kick us off and talk a little bit about the reality of things, right? And the reality is that AI has been changing the way we work and the way we bring value, not just to ourselves, but to our organizations and the organization's clients and so on. And over the last few years, since this entire craze has started, we've seen this spectrum of emotions across various people that we've interacted with, whether it's peers, clients, or their customers further down the line. We've noticed different feelings. And what we wanted to feel the moment we started learning more about AI and agentic system and so on, we really wanted to tackle this with a mindset of curiosity and excitement. And this was sort of the first thing we wanted to do. We didn't want to think too much about what people are saying that, oh, it's going to take over our jobs, it's not going to work, it's not reliable and all of that. We really wanted to have an open mind going into the conversation. And the reason, like the fact that you're here leads us to believe that you're in the same mindset. And I just want to get this out of the way and say that we see so many teams in this spectrum, and we work with so many of these teams that want to make AI central to what they do. And as we were working with these organizations, running AI discovery workshops, helping them figure out how to bring value in their organizations using AI and agentic systems, we started asking ourselves the same thing. How can we, as an agency that does strategy, design, and facilitation, how can we make use of this? How can we leverage this to our own benefit, to be faster in what we do, to be more effective in what we do, and focus our time on the things that actually matter? And I just want to call out a very specific type of service that we've been doing over the years, and that is the design sprint. I'm pretty sure that most of you as designers or product managers, or even if there's engineers in the audience, you probably heard about this concept of a design sprint. It's this kind of 1 week process that you go from, we have a problem or a solution or an opportunity, we workshop it, we create a prototype, and then we test it with people all within a window of 1 week. That's where we kind of started applying AI and trying to figure out how AI can help us a little bit more. And this is a snapshot from one of our real design sprints with Personio. It's a Munich-based HR platform. And working with so many teams, like we've done more than 100 design sprints, it was a no-brainer for us to figure out how we can power the design sprint using AI. So for those of you who are familiar, we use the 4-day design sprint. Essentially, all we do over the course of these 4 days is we align the team. We're working collaboratively to figure out where we want to bring value or what we want to improve. Then we come up with ideas on creating the best solution. We prototype it on Wednesday, and then on Thursday, we put it in front of people to get feedback, kind of closing that loop and trying to get to learnings as quickly as possible. And I'm not going to go into the mechanics of the design sprint itself. That's not what the conversation is about, but I want to highlight some of the areas where we started using AI that we felt it was really, really suitable. So things like brainstorming how might we's, or looking at demos and examples, or starting off with a little bit of ideation or storyboarding during these activities of the design sprint. And we felt like, oh, that's a really nice aid. Like we would use mural boards, and we're going to have these small prompts that we ask during our workshops, kind of help the team here and there. But after we kind of managed to get these first 2 days kind of, I would even say, saturated with what AI can do, that's when actually we started thinking about, okay, let's now look at prototyping. And this was sort of our first little experiment with trying to really have a massive impact with agentic systems and AI, and how it could potentially help us in the work that we do in design sprints. And for those of you who were put in a situation to run a design sprint or be part of a prototyping team, you only have 1 day. So within the space of 1 day, you really needed to make that prototype feel realistic, so that when you test it, it really feels like the real thing. And as I mentioned before, we work with a lot of SaaS companies, and typically they would bring us in for design sprint challenges that are related to their existing products, right? They had products that they needed to improve. So me personally, as a designer working on these prototypes, I had to understand the design system that the company was working with, understand all of the existing components and patterns that they had. I needed to build a prototype that matches their visual language, so it doesn't feel like a completely disconnected thing. They're just slapped onto their product. I had to populate it with realistic content and kind of wiring up all of the static screens in Figma to make sure it feels like a real experience. And also had to make it really seem integrated, right? Not just, again, like a completely disconnected thing from the real tool. And in part, that was sort of the way I approached the design sprint. Like we knew everything, and everything was in 1 day. Like the stress levels on me as a designer having to deliver all of this in 1 day were quite significant. So naturally, I kind of looked inwards and tried to figure out how can I make my life a little bit easier when creating these prototypes in a world where after we would create these kind of Figma mockups rather quickly, we would test them with people. More often than not, we would see these prototypes just completely thrown out, not to be looked at again, just like a little idea getting moved forward. And then let's say another design team would have to recreate that thing all over again in a more thoughtful way, right? So I kind of felt that was a wasted effort. So we tried it out. We thought, what if, and we had to little crazy idea. We said, what if instead of creating these like static mock-ups that look like the product, that of course like maybe use the colors of the product or like the corner roundness or like it feels like the real product, what if the prototype was an early version of the product itself? What if we would essentially take the actual product that is coded, right, the real GitHub repo of the product, we add our design sprint idea and a little bit of AI magic, vibe coding, what have you, and end up with an actual better version of the product enriched with that design sprint idea that works exactly like the real product. It accesses the same database. Like when you show it to someone in testing sessions, it feels like it's their actual instance of a product, but with better features, the ones that we came up with in a design sprint. And we tried that out. It was an amazing success. We actually managed to make that work. And we figured that the prototype now had real context. It was not just 4, 5, 10 screens that are completely disconnected, siloed out in a Figma page, but it was actually integrated into the real product experience. The content was real. It was built with actual coded components, and it was the real product. It was no longer an imitation of it or an attempt to do what we call like a fake door, right? And on top of all of these benefits that we kind of found, we immediately started seeing that, oh, with this version of the prototype, engineers could actually start working on it, and it was no longer something so easy to dismiss. It could actually serve as a starting point for a real-world solution. And that for us was the aha moment. That's when we figured out this is pretty amazing, and we could achieve some pretty great things with this. But then we thought, okay, why should we stop here? Why should we only focus on the prototyping day of the design sprint? We thought about it. Why couldn't this be part of the regular workflow? What if a product manager looks at the data, right? Someone like Anna would look at the data, the dashboard, see that they notice a little bit of insight that could be interesting. It might look at customer feedback and might come up with an idea on a Tuesday morning. And then instead of having to wait for a designer to mock an idea up, to create it in Figma with components, what if Anna could just go and prompt what her idea was and try and describe what she's looking to build? And within a few minutes, maybe up to 1 or 2 hours, she could have something to show, not just the designer for review, not just the engineer for estimation, but also show that to stakeholders in context, in the real product. And that's where we started thinking, how can we take this beyond the design sprint and maybe even do things like experimentation, right?
New features.
Exactly. It can be new features, experimentation, new products. Like the realm of possibilities was quite wide here, and we really wanted to explore that a little bit further. And what we tried to do, and this is probably like the post that most of you have seen, the old way of doing this is you actually needed to maintain 2 design systems. You had one in Figma with all the components and the styles and everything, and then you had one in the code base that the engineers are working with. And it's kind of this constant tug of war trying to keep them aligned, trying to make sure that designers don't go off course, create something that the engineers are not aware of, or engineers just come up with things that maybe it was easier for them to create from scratch instead of looking through a component library. So the old way was that me as a designer would get some feature request or product requirement document. I would create the screens in Figma, hand it over to engineers, have this back and forth. They would rebuild the same thing, but with code, and then I would need to sign off it, right? Okay, this is how we used to work. And then we try to envision, how would the new way work? What if we only had one design system? We no longer needed Figma and had no need for handoff. We didn't need to explain what that component is or what the specs are. And that's where we figured, how about we connect the existing design system that we have, add a set of UX rules and heuristics and general guidelines of how a great interface should look like, and then provide the specs and the product requirements document that, of course, should be founded on research. I'm not saying this is replacing any sort of customer user research, by no means. And then we would have a system like Cloud Code or Cursor to essentially generate the code, right? Like the code would actually get generated by respecting all of the design guidelines, by having production-ready screens that respect the design system every single time and does not allow people to come up with random patterns or new colors or introduce random fonts into the conversation. Just working within a set of guardrails so that everyone on the team wins back time to focus on what matters. For a designer, that might be focusing more on strategy instead of pushing pixels inside of Figma. And this was sort of the fundamental thing that we wanted to keep in mind. And as we were going through this process with Bogdan and Vlad and Anna here, we're trying to think about like what makes this system work? Like what are the things that make it tick? And that's where we started thinking like we need to understand, for the system to work, we needed to understand the design system, all the tokens, the components, the patterns, right? You needed to really understand all of that. It also needed to work within a very strict set of guidelines and heuristics, right? Interaction design guidelines, information architecture guidelines, visual design heuristics, all these things need to be baked into this little brain that uses the components and generates UIs. And in the same time, it needs to be familiarized with the product itself and the business context, right? Because this is what I feel a lot of these kind of vibe design, vibe coding tools are missing. They're missing this sort of context that we see here right now. So with that in mind, we wanted to build an extension that works with any coding agent. We wanted to have this little design brain work with things like Claude Code, Codex, or Open Code. And what we want to show you today is how this little brain looks like. And let's just pop the hood for a quick second here and see what that looks like. And with that, we're nearing the first part of the presentation, and we're going to transition over to the demo, which we're really excited to share with you. So me as a designer, I'm going to take the first part of this. This system that we've built that kind of sits on top of Claude Code or Codex essentially has what we call a design system model, right? This is a set of guidelines that tells the system whenever you need to create some sort of UI interface, you need to work in a certain way. You need to use color tokens. You need to use text styles. You need to use various types of spacing rules and corner radii and elevation rules and layout principles. Like all of these things are built into what we call a design system model, which is like a multi-page document that clearly showcases what we call this 3-layer architecture, right? We have our primitive tokens like the raw hex codes or the concrete spacing values. We have what we call semantic tokens, right? These are the things that apply these various raw values to create some sort of role. And then we have what we would call like the components, right? Your buttons, your modal styles, all the things that actually compose the UI itself. So we created this layered architecture and baked it into the system. And that essentially tells Claude Code that whenever you need to generate a set of screens or a section or anything on a website or what have you, you should always only respect those values and build UI components in a certain way. It's the same logic that essentially a designer thinks about when creating these things in Figma. We're just outsourcing that to a system that works very well with a set of rules. On top of this kind of design system model, we have a various set of things around like visual hierarchy heuristics, like how on a certain page elements should be arranged, how to, for example, not use more than one primary color per view to kind of guide the user's eye. We're adding things like heuristics around information architecture, like if you have a lot of information, think about potentially using progressive disclosure to show content instead of overwhelming something with a wave of information. So these are all things that we as designers think about inherently. This is kind of what we've learned through craft and practice. But in the end, they can all be boiled down to a set of rules that can be followed to reach a certain outcome. And I just want to call this out from the beginning. This is not replacing user experience and the judgment calls that a human needs to make in order to create great design. This is just outsourcing the heavy lifting of having to create components, create layouts that are, again, rule-based, and just having to spend time pushing pixels here and there just to hand it over to a developer so that they can do the same thing in code. What we want to do is to maximize the time that you as a designer and product managers focus on the actual thinking and the actual strategy behind these screens and behind these flows, and leave all the heavy lifting to the AI. And things like taste still come into play and have a human touch to them. We're going to show you exactly how that works. And last but not least, before we hand it off for the demo, this entire system that we thought about, and this is kind of where we believe the big difference is made, is by having this sort of gated process, right? There's various checks and approvals that happen throughout the system. I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like. We do this by 3 ways. 1, there's always design system adherence, meaning that we have this little agent or this little function that whenever it's creating a sort of a screen or a UI or a section, it always makes sure that the styles, the text, the colors, everything is abiding by the design system rules that we have set. It will never go off brand. It will never create or invent things. It will always stay true to the design system, as a good designer would. Then we have something we call accessibility verifications. Every single time a new page is rendered within the system, it goes through a thorough verification. The AI essentially sees the page and signals if maybe there's certain accessibility criteria that are not being met. A gray text on a white background, or an orange text on a bright yellow button. Like, all of these things are being checked, and nothing can go to production. It will never go live if these checks are not being met. And then last but not least, humans approve everything. We have built an entire publishing system, and the workflow that we are envisioning is that we have the let's say the main version of the product. Me as a designer, I want to brainstorm on something. I want to think about a little feature. I duplicate that project in my own local environment. I ask it to do certain things. I create screens. I iterate, and it will never go live. I can hit publish from my own instance, but it will always go through the approval process by the engineers and the appointed people, because it will always need to be checked by a human. We never push anything live until it has been approved by a real person. So these are sort of the guardrails that we've set in place for the system. And I'm honestly getting excited to show you the demo and kind of walk you through what this means. And I'll be completely honest, as we were working on this, I'm gonna exit the keynote for a quick second. As we were working on this, we kept brainstorming, like, what should we demo, right? What kind of product should we demo? Like, what should we show? And we thought, amongst the four of us, like, we don't have a website. And we said, you know what? Let's demo our own website. Let's build our own website with this tool, without using Figma, without using any design tool for that matter, and build it only with the tool that we've created. And what I want to show you today is this little landing page that we created for us. So the working name for this little project of ours is called True Token. Might change, might not. We don't really know. It's too early to say. But fundamentally, what we wanted to show you here is what you can do. Let me just refresh this real quick. Oh, there we go. The magic of a live demo, folks. See? Let me troubleshoot these real quick. Just to prove that it's live, right? Like, this can always happen.
We keep it real, guys, here. Also,
I'll
be taking over the demo soon, and we'll see how the AI responds. And, you know, the AI can be sometimes tricky and can surprise you even with all the guardrails in the world. So, yeah.
It turns out I accidentally closed my server. So,
I was about to say.
yeah. It was all on me, guys. So, let me try this again. So, I said it's called True Token, and we said, what's the best way to talk about what we've built? What's the best way to talk about what we've built if not showing you how we've built our own website, right? So what you're seeing here is completely generated using the system. It's built with Plot code plus the extension to the harness that we just showed you with all the rules that we've set. I just want to show you the page real quick to understand exactly what we want to do. And our value prop is, of course, to allow anyone to build prototypes with real components, no Figma, no handoff. So let's see a little demo here. Let's say we want to create a new testimonial card with someone's photo. And the system, what it does, it just looks through the components and applies all those rules that I mentioned and creates this little component. Very easy so far. What if we want to turn this into a 3-column section for the testimonials? Again, it can do that. But what if we want to push it further and say, okay, make the cards pink? Well, the system won't let us because it's not part of the approved color set. So what we can do is maybe choose the inverse color here. And then we want to send it out for review. We wanted our designer and engineers to make sure that whatever we're doing is actually adhering to our design system. And again, even this animation that you've seen right now with the prompt box and the panel that opens, everything has been generated based off of the requirements and the guidelines that we provided. That was on purpose, and that's exactly what we wanted to do here. So if you go a little bit further down the page, we actually want to show you the level of fidelity that you can reach once you have something like this, right? And we already talked about the traditional process and all the things like this transition, the text styling, the rules of using the text, and all of this is done entirely with the AI system. And even like these scroll animations and all these animations that happen on the right-hand side, they are all, again, generated. It's all a matter of how well you know how to prompt the system, but it will never go outside of the approved design system that you've given it. So for me, who's been creating websites for the better part of 12 years, something like this, to build something like this would have probably taken me maybe 2 or 3 days to put together. Even if I have all of the components in place, I still had to think about all of these things. And then I had to hand it over to an engineer to have it built, right? To have it make it responsive, load fast, all of those things. And I've built this entire thing with a set of prompts within one single day. And this is actually deployed and ready for production. With a click of a button, this exact website, as I've been brainstorming it, can go live on a domain in a matter of seconds. So this is me as a designer where I see the immense value of me being able to do more creative work with the time that I win back. And I just want to share a couple of other things here. And something that again, I'm going to stress this probably a little bit too much in the session, but we don't want to replace judgment, right? We don't want to replace your ability and our ability to think about what to build, right? TrueToken, or like the solution that we're building, is not deciding for you. You give it exactly what you want, but it will always stick to the design system. It will always try to stay close to the rules and the guidelines that you've set it, and really giving you the ability to create these sort of websites and experiences. And this can go beyond websites. It can go to like actual products, mobile apps, you name it. As long as there's code behind it, it can be handled, and you can give it this sort of format. Even like the video in the background of this section is all done through AI. So this is, we felt, the best way to kind of show you what the tool can do and what the superpowers are once you have it in place. But we want to show you how we got here. We want to show you how we managed to land on this. I'm going to hand it over to Bogdan for a quick second just to show you a little interesting demo. And then I'm going to come back and tell you a little bit about how I, as a designer, worked through this. Bogdan, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. I can present my screen. Okay. Can everyone confirm the screen is visible on your side?
Works.
Perfect. So basically what I have here is the Cloud desktop app. And on the right-hand side is a localhost server that is running the page that Raz just showed you. And on the left-hand side, I have a clean chat. So let's say I'm a non-technical person and I would like to build something, but I don't know where to start from, right? So I can just give it a simple prompt to the AI saying that, hey, what can I actually do here? How can I navigate this system if I want to build something? And let's see what AI gives me back. So he is clearly telling me that in plain language, the AI can handle the mechanics behind the scenes. So I can ask it to build me a page or a section, to change something like a color, a spacing. I can do a small tweak, like making this header bigger or whatever we want to do. We can undo some changes, and we can submit our changes for review so that an engineer team can take over and actually see the code itself before it goes live. And of course, we can make some reusable components into our design system. But let's go a little bit further, and I will ask it, okay, but what components can I use? Can you show me what's available? And this is very important because the AI agent is connected to our storybook via MCP. And you can see here very clearly that is using storybook to list all the documentation. And this is important, as I said, because when you build a new page or a new section, it looks at which component exists in the design system and doesn't hallucinate. So it works with what already exists. And as the system scales, because it will scale, it will always be aware of all the components. So basically, he is looking at our storybook, and he will list me the accordion component, the badge component that we currently have here. As you can see, is just putting this text in real time here. All the buttons that we have and the cards. But Raz will show you even more stuff in a very short moment of what we have here in Storybook. So
maybe we should take 1 minute to explain what Storybook is. Maybe
okay,
not everyone
of course.
knows.
Yeah, that's good.
I can do that. Sure. So Storybook is a tool that allows developers to build and test and even document individual user interface elements like buttons in isolated environments. like completely separate from the main application. And this is very useful because it lets teams to design and catch visual bugs for every possible state of the UI. Like if some API errors are going wrong, you need to display an error, a loading screen, or all kinds of different states, right? Without needing to run the full app or set of, I don't know, backend data. And that is why we use Storybook as the source of truth for the components, because the AI harness can take a look at all the components that are available. But what we can do is, let's try to build a real page now, because currently we have 3 pages. So for the sake of this webinar, I'll say to the AI something like this. Hey, can you build me a pricing page with 3 plans, starter, team, and enterprise? Each one needs a price, a short line about who it's for, a few features, and a way to get started. And make sure the team plan is the one that we're pushing for. All right, so I'm expecting to build a new page respecting the design system that we have. And before I give Raz back the screen, it's very important, and I want to emphasize on this, that we can see that the AI loaded the skill called design system, which forces the AI agent to read and respect our design system. It loaded another skill called interface judgment, as we called it, which is a skill that respects layouts on new pages. So these skills are created by us, and we force, again, the AI agent to respect them at key moments. And that way he won't go, he won't hallucinate. Raz, you can take over while we wait for the page to be done.
Exactly. So now you can see, like, this is running. We actually want to do this live and actually show you how this page is being built. While that is happening, going to take a few minutes. I actually want to take you a little bit down a memory lane and like the process that allowed us to go from a blank canvas to setting up a page like this very, very quickly. So I'm going to take over the screen again. I'm going to present. I'm going to show you kind of what's the sequence of steps that we went through to get here. So every new instance of the project that we create goes through one of 2 stages. We either connect it to an existing repository through Git, right? If the team already has a design system that they want to work with, but we didn't. This is a fresh website. So all we had was a set of brand guidelines. And these are the brand guidelines that I, as a designer, created for this brand called True Token. And essentially what this includes is what do you expect from like a very basic set of brand guidelines. We have things such as like what's our logo in various forms, what is the typography styling that we want to use, right? We have like our mono font here. We have a certain styling for headlines and titles. We have a certain set of styling for like the body text. We have things like a color palette, right? With like these green hues, black and white, and then a few action and tangerine colors, and then like some foreground colors. We gave it some guidance around, this is sort of the pairing that we would like to see between let's say light mode or dark mode, and being able to see all of that. And things like a little bit of a composition, right? Like how do we want our brand to feel, right? We want to use glass effects. We want to use these rounded cards. We want to use this grainy background with the soft transitional gradients. Like this is a very minimal, for those of you who created like brand manuals, this is like bare bone surface level stuff. But for us, this was enough, right? It was a new brand. We wanted the system to know this is the visual language in which it needed to think. So that's exactly what we did. We gave the system this brand guidelines as a PDF. And then what that did is actually translated it into Storybook and the system into a real design system with all of the components based on the rules and the model that we set and the one I mentioned before, right? So we have all of our color tokens here, exactly the ones that I've shown you before. All the different surfaces that the system can work with, all the approved ones. We have our type map, right? It adapts it to a web environment because we knew we wanted to create the foundational design system here. So we have like all of our text styles with all of different guidelines and letter spacings and all of that. All of our different button styles, which of course we've played around with. We could have made them a little bit sharper. We decided to make them like full rounded. We have our various kind of role-based radii. And then beyond just sort of these basics, we want to look a little bit into like how these things pair with each other, right? How do we make sure that the texts that appear on every UI component can or cannot be used? And what it essentially did here, and again, this is all guided by the rules that we set. It kind of simulates all the different overlays between a background color and a text color and shows you when and which one to use under what circumstances. Just to give you an example, we have this one in the middle, hey, right? It sees the contrast level is almost like doesn't really exist. There's no contrast. We would never use this. And all of this is used as a set of rules that the system knows whenever I need to add a light green background, I can only use this sort of coloring for text depending on the text size based on what the document here tells me. And this is done for both light and dark surfaces. These are the sort of logical gates and judgment calls that the system makes. And it's, again, rule-based. We have an entire accessibility engine underneath that figures out at what font sizing and with what certain colors it can or cannot work, right? What every surface that we have here accepts. How we think about stacking surfaces, right? How component variants need to be treated, how buttons need to be treated. Never ship these, right? Like all the different rules that a system needs to know about in order to create these very, very good adhering UIs that relate to the design system. This, for me as a designer, is immensely valuable. I can understand the compatibility of all these different tokens, and it tells the system what it cannot and it cannot do. Now, this is just one part of the conversation, right? Just having these was the first step. We needed to have the styles, we need to have the colors, the spacings, all of that needed to exist in here. So then what we did, we actually gave it the page, and I'm sure most of you have probably done this. We just gave it the copy that we wanted on the page. And this was kind of partly generated by Claude. We kind of refined it here and there. But all we did is we gave it this Notion page. We gave the agent this entire Notion page and said, okay, we need to create a landing page. This is the content. We didn't give it any direction on icon usage, on what section is dark, what section is light. We just gave it the exact content and like, oh, we want a button here. We want a text link here. We want a demo of the product with no specs. Just make space for that. And that's how we created the page that you see today. It looked through the design system, it looked at the components and the tokens and the stylings and applied it to match the logic in here. And of course, it abided by the rules of visual hierarchy. It knew that, okay, we need a big H1 at the top, and then the subsequent section could maybe have an H2. And it didn't really guess how the page should look like, but it followed the guidelines to create that very, very seamlessly. And in the first iteration of the page, we didn't actually have, for example, any animation. Like the animation that you see here did not exist. It was just kind of like an empty space because we haven't told it what to do. So what we did to get this exact sort of animation, we just had to write sort of the script, like how we see this animation running in plain English. And this is the exact text that we use. We just said, oh, so the animation starts with a blank screen, right? We want a prompt box that appears in the middle. And then we have sort of like this CRT TV screen waking up, which is that little line that popped out. Then we told it exactly what we wanted to do. We told it exactly what should be written in the prompt box, what should be generated, how it should simulate that. Oh, you're not allowed to use pink on these cards. And we literally just in plain English told it what it should do and what we want from this animation. And I'll be honest with you, it gave us a very good rendition of this animation from the get-go. We just had to make a few tweaks here and there on things like timing, on how long the animation should take. But again, creating something like this, for those of you who've tried it, takes a long time. It probably took me about maybe half an hour in total to get to this high-fidelity animation by having written the prompt correctly and then doing a few fine tweaks here and there to land on something like this. Now, that was sort of the setup. This is how we landed on the page that you see today. We just gave it a copy, the design system, the animation instructions, and there we go. We got a landing page for TrueToken, which is ready and actually published, which you can actually go and see today. So I'm going to hand it back to Bogdan to kind of see where our little pricing page is at. So Bogdan, over to you.
Let me share my screen again. So the AI finished the pricing page. I can access it here. And this is what we got in, 3 minutes and a half, something like that. And what I want to emphasize here is if we take a look at the flow of the of the chain thought of what the AI did here is we can clearly see that, first of all, it ran some checks to ensure the code quality is good. But another important thing is we also forced the AI to do some snapshots to test the new page also on desktop version. So he basically went to the live browser, took some screenshots, did an audit on the page, checked hover effects are good, checked all the rules that Raz showed us previously, and also on mobile version that everything is okay. Now, because the time is running short, we can play around with it even more. But what I would like it to do right now is to say, can you submit this page for review? I'm pretty okay with how it looks for a first iteration, and I wanted to show it to the people in the live webinar. So you should generate a preview link where people can actually access this page. Okay, this again will take a little bit of time, 1-2 minutes. It depends on how the AI is thinking right now. But this is very important because the system, right? Once the page is completed, then the engineering team gets to see it first to check if it's okay and it has no code errors. And also we will create some sort of staging environment where stakeholders or people from the team can access it on a real link and then can play around it, and then the team can share feedback for the new page or prototype or section or component or whatever you want to build. So in about a few seconds, I will also share here the preview link in the chat. But I think in the meantime, if everybody agrees, we can take some questions for the last 14 minutes that we have, and I will come back with a real link, and hopefully, guys, you can access the page.
Yeah, no, I think that's fantastic. And just before we take some questions, but
Okay.
I think you make a great point, because we were just looking at this and kind of trying it out. Like, we have a few pilots of this running on a few of our projects and our clients that I've been working with for a long time, and kind of showed them this. And we've seen like the sort of things that people like product managers and even marketers can do. Like, we've seen product managers being able to think about an experiment they want to run. Like, even here, Bogdan, let's say they want to kind of adjust and kind of make the team plan even more emphasized, right? They have a few requirements. They want to make a few changes. They want to go and say, okay, make it more emphasized. And let's say they want to make it red, but it won't let it. The system will not let them change the cards to a color that is not in the approved design system. So that can lead to a conversation that the designer and the product managers can have. And the designer can decide, okay, yes, we can think about a color, probably not red, but a different color that could be used in the design system that we could promote at the design system level. And even marketers, like marketers are actually able to generate various options of a landing page to try and route certain traffic to it, just to see how it behaves, without having to wait for time from designers and engineers. They could just essentially create a little branch from the main product, tell it how the page should look like and what are different things that need to happen. And within a few minutes, they could have the landing page up and running. Like, we're working right now on things like templatized pages. We're working on kind of bringing ways for people to give you feedback directly on sort of these prototypes that you can bring into your scope. So I think that the possibilities are endless here. And me as a designer, I'm personally super excited to see how the workflow has evolved and what kind of new horizons are being opened here. So,
Yep.
Bogdan, it seems like this.
I've just pasted in the chat the pricing page.
Oh, that was quick.
Pretty sure you can access it.
Nice.
And
yeah,
I
works.
can. And now I've told the AI, I know it's a little bit all over the place now, but if you can put your attention to the screen 1 more minute, please. I've just asked the AI to add a red label to the enterprise plan, and he quickly flagged that, and it told me that the system doesn't have a red destructive color, right? It has only 10 colors. So he kind of gave me some solutions. Do you want to stay on the system and find some other alternatives, or actually add a new label or a color to the design system, or talk with your team and see how you handle this, because currently we don't have such components in the design system. So it always respects what we have. and it doesn't allow you to go crazy. Sorry for that. That's it.
No,
That's
perfect.
awesome. That's awesome. And thank you so much. And yeah, we see the pricing page is up and running. Folks, that's not the actual pricing page. It's just a test. And I just wanted to clarify that. But yeah, thank you so much, Bogdan. And we're actually super excited about your questions. We have quite a lot of them here. So Anna has been
Yes, I think we're just going to read them out loud, just the way we got them. So the first one is from Mariano Arami. Does the design system still exist in Figma, or is it only coded?
So the plan is to completely take Figma out of the conversation and not have to use it anymore. Like if, for example, you have an existing design system in Figma, we can bring that over, but then there will only be one single design system that everyone on the team will use, and that is the single source of truth, which is the coded design system. The reason we actually wanted to have Storybook in place is for everyone to actually visualize the components and see the different states, like hover state or like a accordion that's open and closed. You will no longer, in the world that we envision, you no longer need Figma to create any design system, maintain any design system. You just maintain and create with this single source of truth that we've shown here.
Next up we have, is it a harness?
So guys, I think it's over to you.
I can answer that. We actually talked about it as one of the potential questions right before the call. No, it's not a harness. If by harness you mean a system, a tool that an AI can use fully, like Cloud Code or Codex. We did not write something that's competing with Cloud Code or Codex. We just found ways to enhance the capabilities of Cloud Code or Codex because they both do this kind of the same thing. They just have some different namings to reach this level of developer experience, designer experience when working with Cloud Code specifically. So the things that we built can be easily translated to other harnesses, if that's the word, but it's not a harness in itself.
Thank you. Okay, next up we have a question from Eric. So how do you mitigate drift from the design system so the outputs match one-to-one to the design system in generative outputs?
So how do you mitigate drift from the design system?
How do you stay consistent?
So yeah, I think the rules that we set and the way the system is built, it will never allow you to drift from the design system. Like it will push back unless you have the rights to make changes there. Like we got a question about this in one of our client conversations, was that what if me as a designer on the team actually want to expand the design system? I feel we reached a point where we can evolve the design system. With the right permissions in place, you can kind of have the godly superpower to make any changes, add any new colors, change layouts, change spacing rules, add theming if you want. But for like the usual Joe, like a product manager that just wants to spin up an experiment and see a feature
that Bogdan just showed with the red color.
Exactly, or a marketer that wants to spin up like a landing page based on a template, it will never allow them to drift from the design system. If they want, they can suggest changes. They could say, oh, I would really like this layout, or I could really use a different button style. They could submit that for the design team to look at, and they can decide yes or no. That gets promoted or does not get promoted to like the single source of truth. Hopefully that answered your question. If not, I'm happy to do a follow-up.
Okay, so the next question that we have in here, do we have any standard naming convention documentation for design tokens or variables that we could share? There are some.
Yeah, there are some, like we use like principles and kind of naming patterns from like atomic design as sort of like the single source of truth and inspiration. There are like plenty of guidelines out there. Like if you'd like, even in like the document that I shared in the presentation, the naming conventions are mentioned there, so you can check that out in the recording. It was in one of the slides that I put. Let's see.
Okay, so the next one is, does this framework operates like an orchestrator? And the bolded words are redirected, I think wanted to say, to redirects to individual documentation MDs and or hooks scripts that trigger the documentation. Mainly we rely on the AI's reasoning or on programmatic redirects. This is from Andrei.
Bogdan or I can answer that. Should I?
Yeah, you can go ahead, Vlad. Absolutely.
There's a couple of levels of enforcement. So first, there's the human level enforcement. We don't expect someone to try to hack away at this. So if you're a developer, you'll be able to hack away and make changes, but it's just going to be very hard to stray away from the design system. Then there are a couple of things that we're doing with context engineering to make sure that when edits are happening, the AI has the right context in mind. And we're doing this with nested Claude MDs or agent MDs. This means that when something happens, a specific operation, the AI is not bloated with a lot of instructions, just has very, very few instructions that are highly accurate. And then we also have something that we call skill gates. I think there's actually the way Cloud Code calls them, where we have programmatic checks that can flag additional issues. But again, the AI is completely capable of bypassing those. So we could say when it's making a change, hey, you made the wrong change. By the way, you have a warning. The same way when it makes code changes, it gets errors. When it makes the edit, it gets warnings that, hey, you're not doing something right. Please make sure you're doing things right. And then there's the final stage. That's why we need humans in the loop. We need developers to actually review the pull request. And in the pull request, it's up to us how we want to do additional linking of the code and say, hey, you're using Tailwind classes which are banned in this part of the project. You're supposed to use our design tokens. So there's many layers that we have there.
Awesome.
Amazing, thank you. So I have here one question that more people that are blessed to. So
Yeah.
what if the design system connected to the prototyping tool is really messy? Did you use the AI agent fixing the design system?
This is one of the
Yes.
things that I really push for, because in my experience as a designer, 8 out of 10 design systems are messy. We do enforce what we call a minimum viable design system. So if you, for example, like connect an existing design system, whether a Figma file or like a repo, it will not generate anything until it reaches that minimum viable level of design system, where we need, if we're seeing there's a lot of things that we require and are not part of sort of the file or the repo you've given it to us, you need to specify that. You need to tell us exactly what those gaps are. What do you want those gaps to be? The system will not guess and generate what it should envision if it doesn't reach that minimal level. That's kind of what we found. It's like you don't have like any typography rules. Like we're not just going to pick a random font for you. We know what kind of like the minimum is, and we enforce that minimum to be met until we can actually start using this. I hope that answered your question. And there's so many questions, I can't believe it.
Oh, yes. So next up, I think this one's the first person
Yeah.
raising their hand. So Brian, can your product manage a unified design system comprising material UI components documented in Storybook and Material 3 components built with Compose multi-platform in Kotlin? I hope I'm pronouncing
Kotlin, yeah.
correctly. I think this is a more technical
Yeah.
question.
Definitely something that is worth exploring and worth the effort, and it's a good use case of where cloud design isn't probably the best fit, because you probably have very specific things in your code base and they're really hard to bring into a platform online and all that. Whereas with what we've built, the developers hold the keys. They're the gatekeepers to what gets shipped, and they need to make the effort to give the designers the experience that makes them feel welcome to contribute directly to the code base. So yeah, that one of the needs that we had when we first discovered this way of working was something specific, like your use case, where just using something like Lovable or Cloud Design was not enough.
Awesome. Hopefully that answered your question, Brian. So you had your hand up. So let us know if you wanna follow up. Okay.
Okay, so do I need to use Storybook, or is it as well possible to just give markdowns as roles? We currently moved away from Storybook plus zero height to a different.
To VitePress.
I can answer that
Yeah.
also.
Yeah, go for it.
Storybook or any other environment where the AI can see in isolation sections and component is required. You don't have to manage it yourself as a human, but you should see a specific repository of components. The same way in Figma, you had those components somewhere and you were able to see them maybe grouped together by usage or like area of concern. You need something like that for the AI specifically to see in the actual code that you're using. From what we know, Storybook works with Vipress as well. In the end, it works with pretty much any UI library or component library. So I would say, yes, you do need to use something, not necessarily Storybook. I would recommend you continue to use Storybook if possible in the new project, considering that the AI will manage most of the Storybook work for you anyway. Hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah, just looking through them, I wish so. So what I'm gonna do, I just feel like, as we're towards the end, like maybe we take one more question, and like I will take it upon myself to make sure that all the outstanding questions are responded to, and
Also,
we're gonna
share the
yeah,
recording.
yeah.
I see that there's
and we're gonna send answers to the outstanding questions as a follow-up in the follow-up email, just because we want to be mindful and respectful of your time. I see some of them are very close to what we already have. Maybe we take one more. So let's say Emma, like Emma just lucky is the last one. So it says, if the idea is to remove Figma from the equation totally, how do you do exploration on multiple directions? In the example shared, you already had a nice visual system, but where and how would you do the work to arrive at that system? So if you're referring to like the visual guidelines, like the brand guidelines that we set, I mean, you don't necessarily need Figma for that. Like you can do that in Adobe Illustrator. I know a lot of designers who do that. Like if by exploration you mean like brand work, I don't think Figma is honestly the best tool to do like brand and visual identity exploration. I think there's way better tools for that. I know some people do it in Figma. I guess that's fine. But kind of what we're looking to do, and the reason why we feel like Figma is not really necessary, I mean, at least in the state it is today, like the licensing is incredibly expensive. You have like those dev seats that are increasingly expensive that all they do is just give you the chance to inspect elements. Like, why do you need the entire bit of creating something in a static UI? And of course, you have like animations and like the noodles connecting the screens together. When you as a designer, you could explore directly on production level code. Like if you're talking about exploration of like, oh, where could I take this product? I believe exploration starts a little bit earlier. Like, for example, me and Anna use Miro to think about and brainstorm like how a feature should work, what are different things you need to be aware of. Like,
or experiments we need to do.
Or experiments. Like we just brainstorm in a tool like Miro, and then we can just formalize that into a requirements document and just put it into the system, and we get production level quality prototypes directly in there. I mean, that to me sounds amazing, and I will need to forego any license payments to Figma because I honestly don't need it anymore. Like, I hope I answered your questions in like exploration in kind of these dual ways. But this has been amazing, and I'm so grateful with all the great questions that you put in here, folks. So we're gonna take all the questions that were outstanding and we did not reply to yet, and we're gonna respond to them and create them in like a nice follow-up email that you're gonna get along with the recording.
And if you're interested to learn more about this, of course, we have the beautiful landing page.
So yeah, I mean, folks, well, what are we talking about? Like the thing everything we talked about today is live and published. So just for reference, I'm just going to paste it in here. As I said, this was sort of closed doors for a very long time. We've been working on this for some time, and we have like a few pilots going on. But if this is something that you want to explore and bring it to your team, we have like a zero commitment, completely free kind of discovery session where we can plug in your design system and you can play around with it and see how this works. So if you want, there's a link on that page we actually created with the tool. You can just sign up and like reach out to us. We're happy to chat. But we are really grateful, everyone, for taking the time to talk with us today. We're proud of what we built. Hopefully this, as I said at the beginning, at the very least gives you inspiration of you trying to go and just try and figure out how you can make your workflow better. And with that, I also want to thank Vlad and Bogdan for their amazing contribution. This couldn't have been a reality without them. And thanks everyone for joining, and have a great rest of your week. And hopefully we'll see you in our next events. There's certainly going to be plenty of them coming along.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for your
Thanks,
time.
folks.
Take care.
Have a good
Take care. All the
evening.
best.
Bye.